Shana Tova and Gemar Chatima Tova. For those who have been methodical in reading the High Holy Day Resource Guide, Chatati lefanecha bishvuat shav, I have sinned before you in making an empty promise about what I was going to talk about tonight. If you're interested, I can address that topic that I mentioned in the guide at a later date with you one-on-one. But as I was starting to think, a little bit too late, what I might talk about tonight instead, a friend asked me, what do you need to hear on Yom Kippur this year, you personally? And tonight we'll talk a little bit about a prayer that we said just a few minutes ago. Rabbi Mordechai Yaffe of 16th century Poland writes of the Kol Nidre prayer, Ein bo mamash. It is absolutely meaningless, and its only value is musical. No one knows or understands what they are saying. Those who sing it in synagogue are doing nothing, and it is like the tweeting of the birds who can't say anything. Now, Rabbi Yaffe is certainly not alone in his opinion of Kol Nidre. Great rabbis spanning from the 10th century Saadia Gaon to the 19th century forefather of conservative Judaism, Rabbi Abraham Geiger, have tried to ban or rewrite Kol Nidre time and time again. And yet, there is something powerful enough about Kol Nidre that time and time again has bowled over any attempt to get rid of it. I do not believe that that something is just in the gorgeous music. Kol Nidre, this prayer about dissolving our vows, sticks with us because we know the power of a promise to hurt and to heal. We know the hope of looking to the future. We know the pain of having our expectations dashed. And we know the guilt of having been unable to follow through. At this time of year, when we look back on the people we have been and hope to become, we know the importance of putting our promises front and center. We know the relief, too, of starting with a fresh, clean slate. In the book of Numbers 30, verse 3, we are given a clear command that the promises we make should truly stick. Ish ki yidor neder l'Adonai, o hishava shvua, le'sor isar al nafsho, lo yachel dvaro, kechol hayotze mipiv ya'aseh. If a person makes a vow to God or takes an oath imposing an obligation on himself, he shall not break his pledge. He must carry out everything that has crossed his lips. And yet, earlier this evening, we hummed along with Jeff a text that seems to fly in the face of that command. Kol Nidre, all vows, renunciations, bans, oaths, formulas of obligations, pledges, and promises that we vow or promise to ourselves and to God from this Yom Kippur to the next, may it approach us for good, we hereby retract. May they all be undone, repealed, canceled, voided, annulled, and regarded as neither valid nor binding. Our vows shall not be considered vows, our renunciations shall not be considered renunciations, and our promises shall not be considered promises. On this holiday on which we are forgiven for all of the misdeeds we have committed against God and ourselves, the first misdeed that is not even forgiven but instead wiped out entirely is the misdeed of empty promises. Throughout the year, we set goals for ourselves. We set health goals, professional goals, and resolutions to do or refrain from doing, maybe even by a certain date. Sometimes we make a promise to God. We'll keep kosher better, or Shabbat, or we'll go to the synagogue a certain number of times each week or each month. When we state something to ourselves or to God as a promise or an oath, we hold ourselves accountable. We give ourselves something concrete to work towards, and we convince ourselves that we have the self-confidence to change and to grow. As praiseworthy and pragmatic as setting goals might be, when we trust ourselves enough to make vows and oaths, we make ourselves vulnerable to the possibilities of disappointment and judgment from others. We make ourselves vulnerable to the real-life consequences of making and breaking promises, and we make ourselves vulnerable to the personal weight of letting ourselves down. When we fulfill our promises, as we often do, we gain the reward of knowing we have accomplished something. We have less of a chance of brushing off our achievements. And yet, sometimes, whether because we prioritize other demands, because we come up with excuses to put off our promises, because our life circumstances change, or because we decide later that our initial promise was the wrong one to make, we are not able to follow through. When we recite Kol Nidre on Yom Kippur, we clearly acknowledge that we have done wrong by violating the vows and the oaths we have made. Without Kol Nidre, we may either think that our wrongdoing is eternally irreversible, or, alternatively, that our words do not matter in the first place, that we can say what we feel or intend with no consequence. As we recite our retraction with Kol Nidre, we acknowledge that we have made a mistake, and at the same time, we are worthy of the sort of forgiveness of ourselves that we are commanded to bestow upon others at this time of year. We declare that we are ready to start over, whether with new, more achievable intentions for the coming year or with different methods to achieve what we had originally intended. Even with Kol Nidre's great power to erase vows to ourself and to God, however, our prayer does not erase the promises that we make to other people. As our Mishnah in Yoma teaches about all wrongdoings, transgressions between a person and God, Yom Kippur atones. Transgressions between one person and another, Yom Kippur does not atone until one appeases the other. Like any conflict between two individuals, our promises still exist in the open until they are resolved. The personal promises we erase with Kol Nidre, then, make space for us to focus on those interpersonal promises made from the previous year. For some, that might mean making good on our word, even if our actions are belated. For others, that might mean apologizing and making the necessary amends when we have already let somebody down. We have sinned against you through empty promises. And we have sinned against you by betraying a trust. Our words, and thus our vows and our promises, matter not just to God, but to the friends, the family, and colleagues who shape their time, resources, and hopes around their trust in us. As we enter this new year, before we make a new promise, let's take a breath and check in with ourselves that the words we are about to say are as genuine and achievable as they are ambitious. This year, before we commit to getting something done, let's look at the plates we are already spinning and check to make sure we have enough hands to spin one more. Before we set a time to meet or make a deadline, let us account for the extra time it will take to deal with the things that life will inevitably throw at us. And let us make sure we are not pushing a commitment to someone else aside for the sake of a new and shiny challenge. Before we share ideas or projects we intend to take on, let us wait until we know we can bring them into fruition before getting others' hopes up. After we make our promises, we are responsible, according to Torah-itic law, to do everything in our power to keep them, to change our priorities accordingly, and to let others know about our intentions so that we can keep ourselves accountable. Certainly, we cannot let the fear of not being able to follow through keep us from stepping up and making commitments. As we'll learn from Isaiah tomorrow, we have the responsibility to step up in our families and communities, to find ways to help, starting with those ways that are accessible and achievable to each and every one of us. Sometimes we may need to take the risk of promise-making with the understanding that our God, and hopefully our loved ones as well, will offer us opportunities for forgiveness, to make amends, to try again. While we will certainly experience consequences if we cannot fulfill our promises, we can still move forward, learning about our limits from the promises we break. Beyond trust from others and trust from God, may we use these promises to seek trust in ourselves, both for the commitments we uphold and for the reasons we know in our heart we cannot uphold them. So tonight, with the words of Kol Nidre that we do so desperately need each year, we set ourselves up for a year of daring to commit, daring to trust in ourselves, our loved ones, and God. As a final counter to centuries of rabbinic arguments against Kol Nidre, I'd like to share some words from the more modern Rabbi Naomi Levy. We all start life off with an open, curious, loving heart, and then inevitably we get hurt. Life can be cruel. Sometimes someone lets you down, someone shames you, betrays you, someone breaks your heart, someone abandons you. God does not answer your prayers, so we start making vows. We all know the vows. I'll never get fooled like that again. I'll never talk to him again. I'll never forgive her for what she did to me. I'll never put myself on the line like that again. And there are vows that we make about God too. I'll never pray again. Those vows we make, we take them to heart. We take them into our hearts, and slowly, day by day, year by year, that open, curious heart of ours turns to stone. It makes sense, doesn't it? Who wants to get hurt like that again? Of course, there's only one problem with our plan. The heart of stone isn't just the armor that protects us from incoming attacks. It also makes us less receptive to incoming love and surprise and blessings. And the heart of stone prevents all that goodness inside our souls, all that love and forgiveness and joy and spontaneity and romance from ever getting out. We become cautious, controlling, judgmental, cynical, and rigid. We find ourselves living within a very carefully defined range of emotions, happy, sad, interested, bored, but your soul is capable. Your soul is aching to experience its full range of emotions, and that's why I believe Jews recite the Kol Nidre prayer each year. They come together to annul those vows we made that have caused our hearts to constrict. May our vows not be vows, may our oaths not be oaths. Gamar Chatima Tova. May this year be the year you fulfill the promises you have made time and time again to yourself and to God. Shana Tova.